Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
It's on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's on you, it's on me. Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care.
Hey, Jeff. It's been a long time. We're recording a podcast.
I know. I was like, how do I, where's my stuff? I'm already thinking like about my editing process. I'm like, am I going to remember how to do this? Like all the adjustments that I make and everything. Am I going to be rusty? Is this going to take me forever? Or am I going to, we've recorded one episode in like the last 2 months.
Sorry, everyone. Or congrats, everyone. I don't know.
Yeah. One or the other. Could be both. Could be both at the same time.
We've been too busy following our beloved Sounders run to continental glory.
Yeah.
There's just too much going on in our soccer sports world. Tottenham on the brink of clinching Champions League, despite being against all odds.
Yeah.
We lost our dear Erling Haaland to the fucking evil team. And then, so there's just been a lot of soccer going on. You guys.
Yeah, but in general, maybe soccer's been good. Like
maybe some of you have been watching NBA playoffs to keep you busy while you didn't have our podcast, or the NHL playoffs, of which
checking out Game 6 Clay.
Game 6 Clay, or laughing at Game 7 Suns.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know that there is anybody on the planet who shed a tear for Chris Paul at the end of that.
Oh yeah.
Like nobody.
So beloved.
I know. It's like, I looked at, it's so sad. Chris Paul kicking people in the nuts and not making it out of the second round. So that's all right. It's okay. I don't know. He'll have to take comfort and cover in those giant paychecks from State Farm. So I'm sure it's cold comfort right now, but okay.
Yeah. So so this is podcast. You haven't even put the episode title up for me, man. You're the episode
right,
number up for me.
Boy, see, that's what I'm saying. I'm out of practice. We're out of practice. This is episode number 165. 165.
For your first time reading numbers, Jeff? Or
I had to find the folder on my computer where the last episode was.
There we go. Well,
I was like, I knew it was 160 something. I just had to find it.
This is a podcast. Welcome to Podcast Versus Everyone, episode 165. I am Craig Powers. With me, as always, is my good buddy, my co-Sounders season ticket member, Jeff Newser.
Best man in your wedding.
And best man in my wedding.
We got all the bases covered.
We got a lot of stuff going on.
It's so true. Oh, yeah. A lot going on.
This beer I'm drinking for this podcast ain't helping me lose that weight for the wedding. I'll tell you that much.
I've been avoiding beer for the most part. So it's been gin and soda. It's been seltzers with vodka, hard seltzers with vodka. It's been,
Jeff,
those kind of big ones. We had some bourbon on Sunday.
When you put the vodka in the hard seltzer, it makes it as caloric as a beer, right?
Don't tell me that. I don't want to know that.
Vodka has calories, right? It's not calorie
but
free.
It's not that many. Like, it can't be that many.
Okay, it's like 50 to 60 calories an ounce.
Okay,
How
so
much-
I put like a shot in
so like
there.
1.5 ounces.
Yeah, like 1.5 ounces.
So you're
And
adding
then
like 80 to 90 calories
to
your
a
100 calorie seltzer.
Yeah,
So now you have almost
Okay.
a 200 calorie beverage.
whatever, Craig. Why you gotta do that to me?
Well, you gotta fit. You gotta fit in that fucking jacket, dude.
I know. So Craig picks this. All right, so just so you guys know what's going on here. So Craig picks this linen suit for all the guys in the wedding to wear, and I go to Men's Warehouse to get fitted for it. And I am not a small man anymore, like a lot of people who went through the pandemic. I am not as small as I once was, right? And so the guy measures me up and gets my size, and we go online, and they do not have my size in this suit, right? And it's not like I can just order any suit because everybody else is wearing the suit. And by the way, a thing with, the men that are in Craig's wedding, I am easily the most out of shape one out of the group. There's all these other very handsome, very fit guys that are getting their suits.
Yeah, that's why I
Not
have
so
you
much
stand
with
next
me.
to me, Jeff.
Yeah, you will definitely look better by comparison. So we were able to find at Macy's the same suit because the guy was like, well, Macy's has the same vendor if you can find it there. And so found the suit, but it's one size too small. And so I need to drop like 8 or 10 pounds to like be able to button. I mean, I can button the suit right now, but it is barely buttoned, and so I need to. There's some pounds need to come out. So I've been running twice this week. Went for a couple mile walk with Sarah tonight. I'm trying to get my move on, and trying to conserve calories at other places except for tonight. Tonight is I'm drinking beer tonight. So yeah.
Yeah, I failed pretty hard this past weekend because
The kids were gone.
Well, the kids were gone, and Amanda was at her bachelorette party.
Amanda
I had the
was
house to
gone,
myself, so I lived a bachelor life, man.
I know what we consumed on Sunday, and that Sunday did not help either one of us. So between the Modelo's and the Bodies and the cheesesteak nachos from right outside our seats,
and the chocolate buns.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, the chocolate
And
buns.
I had another beer. I had another Modelo on the bus back home. And then got home, and Amanda, she's home. We have some snacks, and last night, we go on yesterday we still didn't have the kids, so we went on a little date, like a really cool start at like we're searching hunting happy hours, start at 3 p.m. go to about 6:30 p.m. and then we go home, just have like little bits. But of course we didn't eat enough food.
Wait a minute. Are you sure you're not married yet? Because that sounds like a very married early evening right there.
Oh, well, and then Amanda has some leftover Smirnoff Ices from her bachelorette party.
Just happens to.
So we get home and we have to do some chores around the house while we're, buzzed. And she's like, you do the dishes. I'm cleaning some dishes. I pull one up. Bam, out rolls a Smirnoff Ice. So she ices me. I just get iced on a Monday night. And then I go, I'm done doing the dishes. I walk over, sit down on the couch. Bam, right next to me. Another fucking Smirnoff Ice. So
that is true love right there, buddy. That is it. That is destiny.
Then we didn't eat
Ultimate
enough when we went on our little thing. So we ordered fucking Uber Eats Buffalo Wild Wings at like 9:00 at night. It was just we're not doing well on the diet, man. Not doing well.
Well,
Amanda is. She's been losing weight, so
it's one of those things where, man, when the kids aren't around, it's like, well, what should we do? I don't know. Let's eat or drink or both. That's kind
Yeah,
of
dude.
That's kind of how it
I went to Red Hot and Asado on Saturday, and then I went to Red Hot and Boom Boom Room for dinner on Friday night. Oh God, dude! I had ramen with booze for lunch on Saturday. I was living my bachelor life. But back to life, back to reality. Picked up the kids today. You know, had to do bedtime, all that. So, just snap back into focus.
Yeah.
And so as part of that, we're back podcasting. That was one of our longest lead-ins ever. I swear.
And by the way, kids will snap you back into reality too. I'm sure your kids yelled at you at bedtime and made sure that you knew that the reality was there.
She was really sweet, but she was like, "I'm not going to sleep."
Good.
And I'm like, "Okay, you probably are." But we gave her the bedtime chocolate. She'll be going to sleep.
Oh, well,
sorry, kid. She has her bedtime chocolates. We have our bedtime chocolates. They're different things in them, but they work
different kinds of chocolates.
Yeah. But yeah, so I swear we've seen each other. Jeff and I have seen each other many times over the last month.
Yeah.
But so we don't need to catch up like this, but here we are.
No.
Doing it.
No, but we do
for
it anyway.
you. Yes. Yeah. We pod for you. We love you so. And you can follow us wherever social we may go. So anyways, here we are 10 minutes in. Haven't talked really about the Cougs. I was in Pullman for spring football right after our last podcast. I had a lot of fun. I didn't pay that much attention to the game, and I have not went back and watched it.
Yeah.
So my favorite part, the only part I really genuinely remember, is Ryan Leaf coming out and throwing some passes. That is the only part that I paid close attention to. Otherwise, we were having fun tailgating. We got the suite this year. We had a lot of our Cougs Center youths were up in the suite with us, which was a lot of fun. The youths, it was fun. It's fun to see the youths in Pullman. Shout out to Nate and Jack, who got their college degrees a couple weeks ago. So
yes, they did.
Very proud of y'all. Nate Dahl, who of course writes our basketball recaps, and then Jack, who takes all those pretty pictures you see on the site. So Jack, feel free to stay in Pullman if you want and continue taking pictures forever. We might have to find. Hey,
but
y'all
he is
know
taking
anyone.
pictures for the Mariners now. That's the big thing. He got the Mariners photo internship, and so he's doing. Jack is doing big things, stalling from beginning his real life career in finance. So, hang on to that shit as long as you can, Jack. It's okay.
There's always money in the finance stand.
Yeah. Real adulthood can wait.
Yeah. No one is ever mad that they kind of punted adulthood down the line a bit.
No
one
never.
is.
Nope. That is not. No, you put it perfectly. So
yeah. So it very happy for them. Hey, if you like taking pictures and you live in Pullman, give us a shout out. Send us an email. Because news, I don't know if you noticed this. You wouldn't notice this, but the photo services that SB Nation pays for us, one of them, the primary one, is USA Today Sports, and there is one photographer in Eastern Washington for USA Today Sports, and if Gonzaga is playing that night, no matter who they are playing and no matter who WSU is playing, he is at Gonzaga. Gonzaga could be playing Portland or some other shitty team, and WSU could be playing a top 10 Pac-12 team, and he's always at Gonzaga. Probably because he sells the pictures more often that way. But yeah, so yeah, it's been so great to have Jack providing us pictures of events. Oh, I mean, the NIT, he got pictures of that. He went down and got us pictures of the women in the NCAA tournament last year. And those were hard to find too, surprisingly. And so he's definitely helped us out. A lot of great pictures. He was taking pictures of the spring game too. And then of course Nate, who he's going to keep writing for the site, he says so. And he'll still be writing their recaps, but I know, Jeff, you have been extremely grateful to have Nate writing those recaps. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, that's basically the most exciting thing to happen on spring weekend.
Was hanging out with Nate. I hung out with Nate a lot.
As it usually is. Yes. And Emma. As it usually is, because the game is just sort of whatever. I mean, I didn't watch. I just saw some highlights. I meant to watch the game, and then just never really made time for it. To the point, it just sort of underscored how little I kind of care about that, because I don't know how much there is to learn. And I think that most of the time, what ends up happening is something happens the following season, and then you go, oh yeah, I saw that in the spring game and I didn't even, but there's so much you see in the spring game that you can't trust, right? Like, and the one we keep talking about, like, I think we've mentioned this before, but Anthony Gordon, right? Before his, when he played in the spring game before his senior year, and he was, very good in that spring game. And we were just like, oh, Gage Gabrude's going to be the quarterback. So yay for Anthony Gordon, but whatever. As it turned out, he, ended up obviously being really great. And, so then you look back and you go, oh yeah, it was there. Another one I have a distinct, recollection of is Frankie Louvu, in Spokane. One of those games, I think before his senior year, he, ripped some people up, chasing them around the field. And, again, that proved to be, accurate as well. But, I mean, there's just so much stuff that you're just kind of like, never really sure what's what. And so I don't know, maybe that's why, maybe that's just excuse making. I don't know. Like maybe I'll get around to watching it at some point, but I didn't hear anybody say that Cam Ward looked bad, which is, kind of all I care about. Like, just want to make sure the guy doesn't, look overmatched or out of place. And it certainly sounds like he didn't look like either of those things. So, that's all I really care about, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I cared about being in Pullman on the pursuit for happiness. And that's all. And it was a good weekend, that delivered. And yeah, I saw Cam make a couple good throws, had some beer, and had a good time. So spring game, once again, in Pullman, undefeated.
Yes.
But yeah, football, they've been, this is going to be transfer talk now for a bit. Starting with football. Cougs have added some transfers recently. I mean, of course, this is like 10 days ago, but you don't come here for breaking news. So Cam Lampkin, a corner out of Utah State, and then one of Cam Ward's favorite targets, Rob Farrell, from Incarnate Word. So definitely, always could use help in the secondary. Use some depth, find someone who works there. And then, who knows, Rob Farrell. It's hard to, he's not a big, he's an inside receiver. Not a big guy. Be curious to see,
he's a small
where he
guy.
slots. Yeah, he's very small. 5'9", 170. That's his listed size.
Yes.
He has his final year, so I'm guessing he expects to play. I get the receiver group needs depth, so and he
more bodies are good. Like, I don't imagine that he's going to pass, Renard Bell or Lincoln Victor. I mean, I think both those guys are
right.
entrenched in there, but, as we know with the air raid, going too deep is good, and having a guy who's experienced is good. When you watch Cam Ward's highlights, he's kind of all over him from that inside receiver spot, running routes that, we got very used to seeing out of a guy like River Craycraft or, Travell Harris. Bernard Bell, I guess, when he was playing on the inside on that side, a lot of like, Y cross stuff, mesh, things like that. Sale, like all these routes that, our inside receivers have just become deadly with. He certainly looks like a guy who specializes in those things. So that's great. Experience never hurts. Competition never hurts. Depth is good, especially, a guy who you feel like at the very least, if somebody were to get hurt, he could be serviceable. And, I think that's,
knows the
that's
offense.
a good thing. Yeah. And especially when people are learning a new offense, like, having people around who know what they're doing, does have a ripple effect on other players. I think sometimes it can be overstated a little, but it does not hurt to have a guy, besides the quarterback and besides the offensive coordinator, having a guy in that wide receiver room who knows what he's doing. So I think that's good. It's all good.
The funny thing is he started college in 2017 and he won't be the guy who's been in college the longest, even in his own position group, because Renard
He'll
Bell
probably be right behind the guy.
Renard Bell redshirted in 2016 at WSU, and he will be playing his final season.
I know.
In 2022.
Nuts. Totally crazy.
but yeah. Farrell started. This is his 5th different college in 6 years. Man. It's going to be some wild stuff until these extra years of eligibility from COVID shake out in the next few years. But you're just going to have like insane like stories like that where like this guy started school when. But yeah, so he basically started. He started playing college football before my 4.5-year-old daughter was born. And now he still hasn't finished his college football career yet. So
my youngest was 4. Atticus was 4 when that all started. So yeah, God bless him. More power to him, man. I'm glad he gets to keep playing. I'm glad he gets to hopefully finish in a way that it makes him feel good about his college career, because he deserves it. Guy deserves it.
Yeah, and then, Cam Lampkin, there's obviously a lot of uncertainty about who's going to play opposite Langford. So it could be him. Who knows?
Could be. Could be.
So yeah, that's football. Talking about transfers there, might as well just keep on talking with the transfer talk. Obviously, the portal has been insanity for Wazoo so far. I know it's been hard for a lot of y'all, but it hasn't been all bad news, and I think the news is starting to turn around a bit. Obviously, the tough things were FA entering the portal, Mo entering the portal, Noah heading to UW, which we already talked about last episode that we did. And then obviously we had Ryan Rapp and Koulibaly also leave. So right as it stands right now, as it stood for a bit, they had like 6 scholarship players left. But now obviously they have now guys are starting to come back, and one guy I don't think we haven't recorded since he committed was Adrame Diong, who is an extremely exciting commitment, just in the line of all these big men that Kyle Smith and John Andershek and the rest of the staff have been pulling in. Just the type of athletes that we've at the 4 and 5 that we never get here, and now we have 4 in a row. Really, it's wild. So in terms of athleticism and kind of movement, he definitely looks a lot, even though an even skinnier version, moves a lot like Mo. Maybe an inch taller or so, but I think maybe 20 pounds lighter. So he's but you know, he seems to be a guy that wants to be a stretch 4, stretch 5 type. But I haven't seen him shoot much. But he's definitely got that quick bounce. He's going to be a guy that can block shots. He looks like a guy that could be like Mo and defend the pick and roll really, really well because he can pick up a guard and handle them. Yeah, and just you know, very highly rated, our second best recruit ever again. You know, another one behind Clay. You know, sorry Mo, you got knocked off the perch like right away.
Yep.
Sorry, but he really rose up too. When WC started in on him, he wasn't that highly rated, but he's really picked up steam, and he had some legit offers from legit high major programs, and WSU has just been great at building these relationships. And
I think it's a testament to what they did with FA and with, you know, Muhammad Gay. Like these things are not lost on these recruits. It obviously doesn't hurt that Diong's from Senegal, like Muhammad Gay is as well. So it seemed like there was that bit of a connection.
Yeah, and Mo hosted him on his.
Mo hosted him on his official visit. So, you know, it just seemed like a place where he was comfortable, a place where he felt like he could excel, get an opportunity to play. You know, particularly with the only other big on the roster at the moment being Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I'm sure we'll come back around to that particular situation, but at the moment, you know, he's one of 2 bigs on the roster. So, you know, that I think was certainly attractive. And I think you start, you know, building a reputation, and, you know, we now have a reputation a little bit of, you know, developing big guys who, you know, have skills, guys from Africa, I think in particular, you know, they you know, word gets around and guys sort of trust each other, and, you know, they talk about, hey, yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, it's the same reason why, you know, you see the basketball account, you know, cheerleading for FA and Mo when they're off doing, you know, stuff, you know, prepping for the NBA draft, or Mo being in the G League combine or whatever. Like, you know, it's good for everybody if those guys succeed. And I think this is part of that. I thought it was kind of curious. I don't know, maybe we've already gotten bored with landing recruits like this, because it sure felt like the reaction to it was a little bit muted.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be just because it was after a stretch of just bad news and bad news. And
yeah, it was. News. Yeah. And then this happened, and like it was almost sort of like, okay, that's great.
It was hard to watch because we kind of knew this was coming, and but we couldn't say. And it was just like, I want it, guys. It's gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna be happy.
Yeah.
But the happiness did not match the devastation that Coug fans have gone through.
The reaction a year ago to getting Mo was like, oh my God, you know, and then like the reaction to this was kind of like, okay. And I think you're right. I mean, I think it was offset by people just feeling like, man, you know, I thought they just were kind of looking to next year, like we all do in college. And, you know, we're always kind of thinking of, hey, you know, what we're building toward, the next, and, you know, that's just different now. It's harder to do now. It's not the same. You know, you might not have a guy for 3 or 4 years. And so I think people were sort of down on the fact that, well, you know, gosh, I thought we were building toward this, and now, you know, 7 guys, right? It's, you add it all up, it's 7 guys in the portal. I don't know. I just think people got really down, and I don't, you know, I don't fault them for feeling that way. It's very different. I know, it's hard for people to wrap their brains around, you know, that it's just going to be different now, and you're going to be building teams with more moving pieces from year to year now. And, you know, maybe all you can really hope for is, you know, just kind of a core group of guys to carry the torch. And,
Well,
outside of that, guys are going to come and go.
We got to. I mean, as there's been people like, what's wrong with the program? This is happening everywhere. This is everyone.
Is everywhere.
Like,
this is not what's wrong with us. This is everywhere.
Like Arkansas is going to have Arkansas was a great team last year, and they're going to have 12 new players next year. It's part of what it is. And then WSU obviously probably lacking behind in NIL money. If these kids get this promise from their advisors that you can go make some money, but the only way you find out is if you enter the portal.
Yes.
And so you can't find out if any of these things you're hearing are true unless you enter the portal. And if someone's saying you can get $200,000, if someone is telling you can get $200,000 if you go in the portal, why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
Okay, no, let me just who just any of us in our college careers doing anything and in our business careers, if someone offers you $200,000 to leave and you're still going to get the same compensation otherwise, how many of us are being like, nah, I'm good?
Yeah.
Especially if you're still going to be
or
doing
if someone
something.
If someone said you might be worth this, but you'll only find out if you put your name out there.
If you put your name, yep.
Right? I mean, people do this all the time. I mean, you and I have talked about jobs. Okay, so I've been at my job for many years now, right? We don't change because there's nothing to be gained from me changing, right? I know what the contracts, we have union negotiated contracts. We have salary schedules, and it's basically, what's your education? How many years have you been teaching? Find it on the table, and bam, that's how much money.
There's a little table that you follow.
Right. There's absolutely zero incentive for me to change jobs unless I just want better working conditions, right? So, but for you, right? You're out there, and sometimes you kind of have to change a job if you want a pay increase, because otherwise, the company you're with is well, we already got you, so here's a 3% raise. And you're like, but I've got this other job offer for a 15% raise. And they're like, well, good luck to you. I mean, there's the only way is if you specifically, Craig, go out and do some interviews and get some other offers. And that's kind of what these guys are doing. And
they're doing it. It's just very public, everyone.
And I don't think anybody likes it. I don't think, I mean, I like that kids are getting, I call them kids, men. I like these guys, these men, getting what they can get. I like that. I don't like just sort of the process, right? The sausage being made. It's just sort of distasteful. I don't like the handlers.
The handler
that
part.
Kind of stuff
that is just ripe for exploitation.
Yeah, it feels exploitative, that part. But if this is what it takes, I'm okay.
What we're kind of seeing is there's these pie in the sky, huge ones, like the kid that went to Florida.
Yes.
But there are only so many of those deals. Yep. And even as good as F.A. and Mo are, I think that they probably didn't find those deals.
Yep.
I think they found some deals. And I think probably WSU has been able to match them or at least come close to, so that, because now we see, and we'll talk about the other transfer in a bit. This is just too natural of a segue to not do, but now we see F.A., who wasn't even including WSU on his list before. WSU's in the Final Four.
Yeah.
And the coaching staff legit feels like they have a chance to bring him back. When I'll tell you 3 weeks ago, they did not feel that way.
Correct.
So something has changed. Either WSU has pulled together some cash, or FA is not finding what was told to him.
Yep.
out on the market.
I think it's probably some of both.
And I think he probably didn't hear the answers he wanted to hear for the NBA.
Yes, I think that is also, he was not invited to the combine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he may have had some workouts for some teams, but was not invited to the combine, which is usually not a great sign. So at least for a guy's draft prospects, usually not a good sign. So yeah, I mean, John Rothstein reported today, we're recording this on Tuesday, reported that, it was Arizona, Florida, Maryland, and then also considering Washington State. So, I get, if you're listening to this, by the way, I can tell you, any good vibes you can send FA's way to let him know how much we'd love to have him back. Those things go a long way. And if you feel sort of weird tweeting at a college kid to let him know that you think he should play for your team, I do understand. I do think it's a little, I don't know, maybe I'm rationalizing, but it seems less distasteful if he already plays for your team versus if he's a high schooler, I guess. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's, it'd be amazing to have him back. Muhammad Gay, same kind of deal. Like there seems to be a very real chance that he returns.
Yeah, he also was not invited to the combine.
Yeah. He was invited to the G League combine, what do they call it? G League Elite Camp or something like that. So he participated in that. 7 guys from there were invited to go to the NBA draft combine, and he was not one of them. So he was, for whatever reason, did not especially stand out there, which, I don't think is totally shocking. I mean, I think we both look at FA and Mo and go, they've got some skills that are sort of high level at the moment, but also need a lot of polish to be thinking about, NBA careers and to play professionally. They need some more development. They need some more polish and, to play at that level. And, so they may very well come back to WSU. And if they do, everybody starts feeling very different, about next year. And I think both are a very real possibility. I think it's a legitimate possibility for both of them.
Yeah. It kind of felt like FA was gone, and now,
yes, it did.
I swear, like I've been just a little bit happier today knowing that there's a possibility we could watch FA Abogidi play hoops again for Wazoo. Maybe everyone will learn his name by then.
Yes, maybe.
We'll do whatever we can to bring FA back, whether it's tweet at him or tweet at him. Or if someone out there, if you got a bag,
Yeah, we won't stand in your way on that one either. If you have a product that you would like endorsed, especially if you have a product in Nigeria, that would be most beneficial because that's the easiest way to get around the NIL or the visa rules for NIL. So if you have something you want to sell in Nigeria and you want to pay him to endorse something you're selling in Nigeria, I think that would really be swell. Let us know.
And why don't you go ahead and look for any Senegalese products to sell?
Yes, that
well?
too. That too. Yeah, that too.
Of course, as soon as De Jong signs, everyone's like, "Whoa, is this good?" Like you had that portion of the Cougs fans are like,
yes.
"He's just going to be gone in a year." It's like, I don't know if he's gone in a year. It's kind of fun to have like incredible athletes playing for you, like pretty regularly.
If FA and Mo never play for us again, I'll be like, that was still awesome. Am I bummed that they're not sticking around? Of course. Like I would love for them to stick around. But
Michael
also,
Flowers,
it was
Michael
awesome.
Flowers only played for Wazoo for 1 year. Gardner Minshew only played for Wazoo for 1 year. This happens,
Yes. Gardner Minshew was on campus for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he is ours and we love him and it's okay. It's okay. It really is. It's all right. Let's see. We had another guy.
Yep.
We had another
from
guy.
St. Mary's.
Yeah. Jabe Mullins.
Great.
He does look very much like a Jabe Mullins too, by the way.
Mr. Jabe Mullins. 6'6", guard wing, but you and I both kind of.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play wing, man.
Yeah,
he's going to play
both,
guard.
Yeah, we both independently, like, our ears perked up. What Kyle Smith said in the press release is that he can handle both guard positions, like, multiple times. So, like, that, sure, yeah, exactly. They want him to be a guard, like a ball handling guard. And that's not something that St. Mary's asked him to do. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot, to be honest. He's definitely got a jumper that looks like if you find him open looks, he's going to shoot a high percentage. And as Bryce Hendricks, our scouting, our Cougs Center scout, noticed when looking at tape, St. Mary's didn't really run a lot of plays for him to get open. He was kind of just working off ball, working as like a tertiary option or most of the time. And if he was open, he was open. He took the shot, but they weren't really endeavoring to get him open. So obviously WSU kind of sees him in a different light, sees him as maybe a guy who can handle the ball a little bit, work to pick and roll, and then maybe hopefully run off ball and get some open looks as well. But yeah, it's interesting. You know what? All those departures I mentioned did not mention Ty Roberts either. So maybe he kind of steps into some of the void that Ty Roberts is leaving, which of course he could end up coming back too. But just kind of seems like he doesn't really like being in Pullman that much. So if that's the problem, that's kind of hard to get around, but it probably depends on what sort of offers he's finding, out there. I'm sure that the, coaches would take him back. They love him. So like at least, they love the way he plays and so if Roberts doesn't come back, we need guards. We need them desperately.
Yes.
We
will need to add at least one more guard for sure.
At least one more guard. Yes.
Probably two.
Probably two. Because, you got Miles Rice coming in who they think very highly of, and others who have seen him in practice and stuff think very highly of, but he still has yet to play a college basketball game. And he just sat out a year. So it usually takes guys, especially guys that sit out a year for a red shirt or back in the day when they had to sit out a year for a transfer. It usually took them a bit to get reacquainted with live in-game basketball. So, so we're going to need probably some guard help. And veteran guards would be great, to pair with the youth. It'll be interesting to see. He's got some tools. He's big. Both of you and I were excited about that. Kind of.
And that's a theme. I mean, that's a theme with the guys that they're getting too. I mean, we've got, you got Mullins, you got Rice. So if we just kind of go like kind of down the line. So Miles Rice, I think is 6'3", I think.
6'2", I think.
6'2", 6'3", somewhere in there. Jay Mullins is 6'6", and then you just you kind of go from there. TJ Bomba's, 6'5", 6'6", Andre's 6'8", DJ's 6'6", 6'7". Obviously Deshaun is 6'10", DeYoung is 7-footer. He's a legit 7-footer. And then Dylan Darling is also 6'2", Carlos Rosario like 6'7". So nobody on the roster at this point under 6'2". And then the names that they've been linked with in terms of guards are also all bigger guards. And I don't think it's too hard to see why. Like we talked about this a ton last year about how starting two guards who were 6 foot and under, is just very limiting, at the Pac-12 level, extremely limiting. And I don't think that, Smith has always sort of favored bigger guards anyway. Even when he was at, San Francisco and Columbia. I think that they just sort of, I don't want to say they got painted into a corner last season with the roster, but I just think they ended up starting guys that they maybe didn't think they were going to be starting. And so they end up with, kind of these two small guards, and it really did present a fair number of problems, especially when you think, okay, well, you've got, you've got these bigs, right? That are real weapons. Two of the bigs they had last year that, we may yet have this year, between FA and Mo, two guys who are tall and springy and really good rolling to the basket. And how many times were we pulling our hair out because we just couldn't get the ball to him, right? Like, somebody executes a nice little pick and roll and, Tyrell Roberts, God bless him, is, trying to make a pass, but it's like, man, he just doesn't have the angle to get the ball in there on a roll, because he's, 5'10" or whatever. And so I think there's some element of, Jade Mullins, who's, 6'6", is going to have much less difficulty entering that pass. If he's running a pick and roll or if he's trying to enter a post pass to Deshaun Jackson, that's just going to be much less challenging because he's going to be tall. And so I think, and then your other point guard or your other guard, Miles Rice, 6'2", 6'3", big difference between 6'2", 6'3" and 5'11", 5'10", 5'9". It's a really huge difference. So yeah, I think you can see, and then they've been linked to another guard who is a point guard, shooting guard type combo guard, who I believe is like 6'5". So I think this is all very intentional, which I love. Getting guys who are rangy and can do some of these things. I think, because I think Kyle Smith can coach anybody to play defense. I think we've sort of figured that out. The defense did not suffer as much with two short guys on the perimeter as much as I thought they would, especially as the year went on. So I'm not as concerned about that, but I think offensively they could really benefit from some height.
Yeah, it really, there were times when it felt like, especially when they played that zone and they had the two small guards in there, it's like, you can't be playing zone.
Yeah.
With two small guards. And in fairness, sometimes they'd like sub in Ryan Rapp or whatever, like when they got in the zone. Because, because you can't just have two, because he's 6'5". But you can't just have like guys that are that easy to shoot over in a zone.
Right.
Offense is really where we saw it get frustrating. When we could not, like you're talking about, could not get our super athletic bigs the ball because of just like a hard hedge or something, not even that hard of a hedge, like just the guy running out with his hands up and you just can't see over him.
Or they start probing amongst the trees. They kind of foray into the lane just a little bit, and all of a sudden it's, like you said, trees. Like they're just there's nowhere to go with the ball, and then they end up dribbling out to the 3-point line. So yeah, I think this is an attempt to solve that, and I am 100% on board with it.
Yeah, and it's fine having like one of those guards out there. Like obviously Flowers had tons of value offensively. But when like both, but if you had another playmaking guard paired with Flowers,
yes,
he didn't have to always be running the pick and roll and all that. That would have benefited him for sure if he could have just run around and caught shot. We saw he was deadly on spot ups. That's why they ran that handoff play out of the. To the out of baseline inbounds, and I swear he didn't miss one of those all year. But
and he just kind of hide behind somebody in the corner and pull that sucker.
But but then when you have two of the two guys that neither one can really kind of see over the top, especially when you're playing a team, we always kind of like cringe. Part of that cringe when we saw like teams with tall guards. Part of that run in the NIT is they played a stretch of teams with just tiny guards. Like it was like
we were playing mid-major teams, and that's not unusual, right? Like their guards are generally going to be smaller.
Yep.
So
and so that was helpful. Obviously Mike was able to have a huge offensive, because he kind of is paired with dudes that are his size. And he's good enough offensive player that if the person can't just hold their hand up and bother, then he's gonna find his shot. So very excited. 6'2" and up lineup next year is looking very possible. Hell, we could, if all the bigs come back, just put them all in at once, just for the sake of just mega high, and put Yaki at the point. Put Yaki at the point. Put the 4 bigs in. I think let's put Mo wants to play the 2. We know he wants to play the 2.
Yeah,
put DeYoung at the 3, Deshaun at the 5, FA at the 4. Let's rock it.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. But so yeah, let's talk about that, like, seriously. If by if everything hits, and it just on probability, no, probably not everything's gonna hit right. But if FA came back, if Mo came back, we have DeYoung, we have Deshaun. What does this look like? I know we've heard from the staff that they really want to play 2 bigs all the time. They really like doing that. Now the plus minus for when FA and Deshaun played together wasn't great this year. So maybe not all combinations of 2 bigs is good. But they really want that because they want to be able to compete with Arizona and those other teams that have the giant lineups and can just rotate out 7, 6'10", 7-footers all the time. They want to be able to do that, which is cool. I like that aspiration. But it's curious, like, how does that fit? Like, are they really going to have the minutes to play all 4 of those guys?
I don't think there's a problem with the minutes playing all 4 of those guys, but I think there's a problem with some of the other guys on the roster. So I think of DJ Rodman and Andrei Yakimovsky, where they both play the 4, right? I mean, Andre can sometimes swing to the 3. I guess DJ theoretically could as well, but really those guys are 4s. And so, where do their minutes go? I don't know. Like that's where I get sort of wondering kind of how this all shakes out if everybody comes back. Because it's like, again, there's only so many minutes to go around, and you could play, theoretically 2 of Gay, FA, DeYoung, and Deshaun, and that's great. So then again, that's pretty much, that's going to be almost all of your minutes at the 4 and the 5, right? There might be a few minutes in there somewhere for Andre or DJ to play the 4. We're talking maybe like 5 to 10 a game, maybe, right? And so where did those guys end up? Oh, well, they can just play the 3. Okay, well, what about TJ Bamba, right? I think TJ Bamba, at this point, I think you can pencil him in for 30 minutes a game. Like, I think that's what we're looking at there, right? Okay, so that leaves you, 10 minutes a game at the 3, right? And then, okay, so Andre can't play 2. Okay, so maybe TJ plays some 2. Okay, then what about, Miles Rice, Jabe Mullins? Like, it's just like, even with just the not even full roster that we have right now, it's like you start going, like the minutes start getting crunched pretty quickly, depending on where you end up. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's a good problem to have, right? Like,
teams rarely go 10 deep. Most often.
And as we know, by the way, with all these bigs as well, high probability somebody misses some time. So I think that's worth considering also.
Yeah, and there's also, foul trouble, and bigs just like typically don't play 30 minutes a game, even when they're healthy. Like that's just not something you see. So maybe there's a few minutes at the 4 you can piece together, because you got to think that they're going to find minutes for Yaki. You got to think they're going to find minutes for Rodman, just because these guys were pretty effective, and Rodman obviously had they like plus minus, and his plus minus was always really good. And if he hits 35-40% of his threes again, then last year he's an incredible player. Last year, if he shoots threes like he did the year before,
When you combine that
'cause-
with the uptick in twos.
Yeah, 60%, 61% on twos, 80% from the free throw line. Got to the free throw line a lot more. That's why he was actually a better player despite hitting, a lot fewer threes. But then you got Yaki who started hitting threes. His twos ticked up a bit. Maybe he could tick them up a more. He couldn't do any worse than the year before. But yeah, we kind of had these same conversations last year. I hope that's a problem they have. I hope FA and Mo both come back, and I hope they have to figure out how to play all these guys because it's better than vice versa, where you're like, oh shit, how are we going to fill out this lineup?
And it would be nice with DeYoung to not have to rely on him for 25 to 30 minutes a game, like that'd be nice, to have a freshman who you can work in and develop.
Yeah, I do think it probably
maybe not have to throw him out there as a critical rotation piece right off the top.
It definitely could have benefited Mo, I think, a little bit at times last year to not be like a every game starter and just a guy that played 25 minutes every game, sometimes more.
Yep.
So it was so that it would have benefited him, I think, to be kind of eased in a bit more. We usually just saw him in play fewer minutes when the matchup dictated it. But it's cool to have these guys that are good enough and athletic enough immediately to contend with Pac-12 players. But also it's good when you can maybe not like hope that this freshman big is good enough to be your starting four like all year.
Yeah.
Well,
as we saw last year, there are limitations to that, right? Like,
there's
a reason why the team didn't make it to the tournament. They were reasonably close, but they didn't get there. And it's like, you can only, even though we're talking about the number 2 recruit in our program history, like that's not, I don't want to say it's not saying much. I mean, it is a thing, but it's also
we've never had like instant NBA one and done guys.
Yeah.
Before.
We don't, our top recruit of all time is an NBA player, but it took him 3 years to get there. Like those are not we're not landing the kinds of guys that as freshmen are generally going to put you over the top because they are just so spectacular, right? I mean, we can get guys who can impact things, but the reality is when you look at top 100 recruits, once you get out of the top, 15 or 20, to be honest, it really isn't that many. Like there's 15 to 20 guys who are really like difference makers when they show up. You don't have to get much farther outside of that, and guys are not difference makers like that.
It's usually really good. The rest is they have the athleticism and the size to match college basketball players, but they just don't have.
So they can play.
Yeah.
They can play, but they're not difference makers. They're not the kind of people that are going to show up and just like, put you on their back and go take you somewhere. So WSU's not landing those guys, and that's okay. So it'd be great if DeYoung didn't have to, be in a position to have to play more than, say 15 minutes a night, while he sort of grows into that role and he's able to give you 15 really quality minutes in certain situations versus needing him for 25 minutes and, going through the same kind of growing pains with him that we went through with Mo last year. So I think that's really what you kind of hope for.
So let's think about this. If we get happy news and Mo and or FA comes back, so if FA comes back, assuming that they fill out the guards and make sure we have a decent guard rotation, which we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yep.
You really need at least one more, but then once we have that, then we're there. And I think they'll get that in the portal. But I think if FA comes back, maybe we jumped the gun a bit last year, but if FA comes back, I think they're a tournament team. Like I think he makes that difference. And if Mo comes back, even more. Maybe if Mo comes back without FA, we're going to need to see some guys jump a little bit. Like I think I think we're going to have to see some big steps forward from like Bamba and Andre to be confidently in the tournament. If only Mo, no FA, and obviously a big jump from Mo as well. But FA is just prime. Like FA's advanced stats showed him as one of the most effective, one of the best players in the league last year. He is just so impactful defensively, and his offensive game it improved his second year. No reason to believe he's not going to improve his offensive game again next year. He's going to be a massive player for WSU if he comes back, and I think one that pushes them into the tournament. So let's hope that happens, because I would like, and if he does, we can still name the entire rotation, even the bench players on those 07, 08, 06, 07 teams. You know, you can.
Yep.
We still talk about not just names like Kyle Weaver and Derek Lowe. We talk about Mac Hobson and David, and Robbie Calgill, Ivory Clark, guys that weren't stars, but you knew them because they were on a massive team. You know, Jeremy Cross. I knew the last guy on the bench to walk on. So if they come back and they get this team over the hump, like F. Abagidi, Mohamed Gay, TJ Bamba, Andre Akamovsky, Deshaun Jackson, DJ Robin. These are like legendary. Those will become just legendary names that people will never stop talking about in Wazoo basketball lore. And so, yeah, please come back, guys. I want to talk about you forever, and also I want to say, hey, maybe we freaked out about the portal a little bit too soon, and it wasn't as bad as we thought. All right, so we should probably, now that we're an hour in, take a break, and then we'll come back and probably talk a little bit about some baseball and some tennis, and before wrapping it up.
And we're back.
All right, Jeff. As always, I never mentioned before the break, but our loyal listeners know what's coming now. I want to know what you're drinking.
I am having a beer that I'm sure you have had before. I am having Holy Mountain Kiln and Cone Pale
Yes,
Ale.
well, I may have not had that specific one because they changed the hops on that one, and they kind of change even the style. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's a little hazy. So I don't know what you got now.
Definitely hazy. The hops are Mosaic and Idaho 7. Nice. Are you familiar with Idaho 7?
I am, but
okay. Of course you are. I was going to be like, I mean, this time that's even going to be obscure for Craig. But
it's not that obscure of a hop. It's been around for half a decade. It's a Yakima. It's made by the Yakima ones. It's but it was originally came from Boise, from Jackson Farms in Boise. But you get like stone fruit type vibes from that. As opposed to like citrus fruit, you get more kind of like stone fruit taste. They describe it as a tangerine flavor, marmalade type flavors. But yeah, Idaho 7 got real popular like 5 or 6 years ago, and you saw some like single hop Idaho 7 But I think like single hop out of 7 is not that great. I think pairing it. What was the other one you said? Mosaic or Motueka? What was it?
Mosaic, yeah.
Yeah, Mosaic's great because Mosaic's like those dank. So you pair that dankness, that kind of grapefruit with that kind of marmalade, then those balance out. Great combo. I will say I like when Kiln and Cone is a clean kind of West Coast style versus a hazy, usually better. But maybe that hazy one is good too. What color is the can?
No, it's still delicious. It's black with pink, black and pink.
Yeah, I think I had that one. Yeah, I do think I had that one. Yeah.
Yep.
The last one I had
it's
was
delicious.
hazy.
Glad I got it.
Holy Mountain's pretty good at making beer.
Yeah, they do okay.
Yeah,
their beer's all right. Yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
Well, so I have a beer I got off Tavar. But it's just I wanted to feature it because it's just a fascinating kind of story. This brewery. So this from it's called. They have a Phase 3 brewing company has a kind of a series of double IPAs called Cream. So they're made with rolled oats and milk sugar. So it's a hazy lactose IPA. So you don't want this if you're lactose intolerant. But this is the double dry hopped Citra Motueka version. So it's a great hazy IPA, like really, really elite. I think this is very reminiscent of hazies from Other Half. Just very juicy, very, very cloudy, like opaque, very light colored, but opaque at the same time. Great mouthfeel, just tremendous. It's very well done. So this brewery, the interesting thing about it, Phase 3. So I know y'all, Jeff, I know you are familiar because it's the first place we met, with the Ram.
Oh yeah.
And what do you think of the Ram when you think of the Ram's beer?
Boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how many Rams have you been to?
Oh, many.
And have you ever
at
seen
least 3 or 4?
Have you ever seen a different beer at any of those Ram locations? Or is it always the butt-faced amber or whatever it's called? Or like the
Yeah. Big Red, whatever IPA. So those are the ones that. Yeah, those are the ones I see.
So typically, the Ram, even they'll have the breweries outside, whatever, but they brew the same. Like the brewers there, they just have a list of beers that they brew the same beers. They'll have seasonals, whatever, one-offs. So back in like 2016, I was at like a beer share, and this guy pulls out a bottle from the Ram, and it was a barrel-aged stout, and it was really fucking good. And I'm like, where the hell? Like, I've never seen this before. Well, there was one Ram location in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago, to the north. So that was giving their brewer free reign, and it was a guy by the name of Sean Burns, and he was making elite barrel-aged stouts. He was making, at the time, hazy IPAs were on the come up. I went to the Schaumburg one before. There was like definitely different beers, so they did not have other Rams. I didn't get a chance to have like the barrel-aged stout on draft, because those, like, people would go and they would sell out really quickly, because out of this Ram in a suburb, in a strip mall, like in Chicago, like in Chicagoland, like people had figured out that this dude was making this like hype beers and in a Ram. And so this guy became a hot commodity like in the Chicago beer scene. And there was, Microphone, which is a big famous brewery in Chicago. They were trying to recruit him. He ends up going to this new brewery called More Brewing. More, M-O-R-E, just like it sounds. He immediately knocks it out of the park, puts more on the map, not only locally, but nationally, winning all these awards for his barrel-aged stouts. Their first big barrel-aged release of Henna, they had insane lines. One of the news stations sent a helicopter out to like take video of the line. It was so crazy. It was in another suburb of Chicago. So he built that brewery up, More Brewing, but then indeed he decided he wanted to run his own place, and so that's when he opened up Phase 3, which is kind of cool. He calls it that, with some other people that he worked at the Ram with. So these people started from the Ram, and now they're here. And so he's making just hype beers but just very well executed beers. Just a very talented brewer, who also kind of has good vision for what people will like and what and just if you are able as a brewer to get the people running your company to invest in the type of ingredients that you need to make these types of beers, and he got the Ram to do that, like you're just some sort of visionary. And like Sean Burns, shout out to him, the guy who made Ram beer cool, now Phase 3, killing it still. I just thought it's a cool story. A guy started at the Ram,
It is.
and got noticed at the Ram, and then has now blown up 2 more breweries into like national prominence, in terms of beer nerds. I'm not talking about regular people. In terms of beer nerds. And we all know, like, if you've been a beer nerd since since the 2000, at least since like 2014, 2015, 2016, it started at this legend, like there's this Ram in Chicago that makes real beer, like legitimately good beer. And then some guy shows up to a bottle share and he has one of the bottles and you're like, this is really good. This is real.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And now this dude's just moved on. He owns the brewery now, so he can do whatever he wants. That was part of the problem he had at More. Some disagreements with the ownership, so he left. Obviously, the Ram, he had some severe limitations there. He wasn't going to be able to do what he wanted to do. So now he's got his own thing. Got his own brewery. He's crushing it. So Phase 3 Brewing. If you ever stumble upon in someone's cellar the Chaos series of beers from the Ram, that was his barrel-aged stout series, Chaos, from the Ram. So that's was always kind of a legend, and it's cool that he's just still pumping out good beers. So Phase 3 Cream, very good. I don't think many hazy IPAs are exceptional, but this one is for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So once again, you learned more about something that you didn't have any interest in. So congrats to everyone. But yeah, so we should have recorded at some other point when all the baseball vibes were good. And then we waited after this UCLA series where they got swept.
Yeah.
And well, they did beat Portland today, but
they
no
did.
one cares.
That's true.
The UCLA series, getting swept by UCLA, ended their chance at making the conference tournament, which the top 8 teams make, and now they are mathematically eliminated from that. So that was a bummer because they really have turned it around. In the middle of the season, they looked like they were headed towards a historically awful season, and
we know what those look like.
Yep, the type of shit that got Marty Leafs fired, and they've turned it around. They've had some really impressive wins. Winning the series from USC, winning the series from Arizona, beating Gonzaga. Lots of good wins. It was a bummer to have, that series ended kind of the hopes of any sort of postseason play ended with those losses to UCLA. And now they're left with just 3 more games. So if you can make it out to Pullman this weekend, it's unfortunately a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But they're hosting Arizona State. I'll say it really seemed like they were in a place where it was hard to see when the program was actually going to get better. But now you see they've been able to contend with legitimate, I didn't even mention they've won the series at Oregon. You've seen they've been able to contend with some of the best programs, not only in the country, in the conference, but in the country. They've been able to score more runs. The pitching's still been iffy. The defense a little iffy, but it's been better. Everything's gotten better. So maybe they're turning a corner. Maybe something is being put in place to take a step forward next year.
It's just a bummer the season is so short, right? It just doesn't leave you a lot of room for an extended period of problems. And that's what they had, basically. They dug themselves too big of a hole that they couldn't, quite get out of. They left themselves really almost no margin for error, and they nearly pulled it off. But they ended up, they lost some games to, Cal in particular is kind of the big one. I think they got swept at home by Cal. That was kind of a killer. That was early in the season, right? That was during that 10-game losing streak. They just kind of dug themselves too big of a hole.
UW isn't very good. Getting swept by them, that was rough.
Yep. And so, you kind of add those two things together that, it just puts a hole in there, and you don't have, like in Major League Baseball, you don't have 160 games to dig out of it.
If you look at the 3 teams ahead of them, Washington, Cal, and Utah, they got swept by Washington. They got swept by Cal. They lost 2 out of 3 to Utah. And those are the 3 teams above them in the standings. Arizona State.
And I think if they played them again right now, they'd probably fare better, but they don't get a chance to do that.
So with the win tonight, let's see, they have that in. So I think the win tonight puts them at 24-26. If they can manage to sweep Arizona State, they can finish with a winning record, which would be a nice little, like when Kyle Smith finished 500 that first year, got the winning record the second year. Those are nice little milestones. So if they have to sweep to finish 500 or more. So that's probably something they're shooting for. Because that is the end of their season. So, 3 more games. It's feel like the baseball season just started, and it's already over. I'm once again very glad they turned it around, and it's been nice to see them win. They went on. They didn't sweep USC. They took 2 of 3. They took the last 2, and then they swept Utah Valley and then beat UC Riverside. So going into the UCLA series, they had won 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and then really just weren't that competitive in the first 2 games, and then narrowly lost the third one. So, baseball, you just arrived, and you're already gone. I guess that's what happens when you only record like 2 podcasts in the middle of the baseball season.
Yeah.
That's
exactly right.
For some better news in those non-revenue sports, as they call them, which, our non-revenue sports have been absolutely killing it. So WSU had Michaela Bayerlova from Krumbach, Germany, who has earned her 3rd first team all conference honor. but also was given Pac-12 Conference Player of the Year and invited to the NCAA tournament for singles.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
Super cool.
Savannah Lai Nguyen, also on the all-conference team. Interesting to note about Bayerlova, she's the only Cougar tennis. I'm just reading this straight off of the press. Literally, she's the only Cougar tennis player to earn first-team honors since the conference expanded to full round-robin play in 1998. And then she was the only year she wasn't a first team, she was a second team. So she's been on all conference every year. And the last player to earn a Player of the Year nod was Catherine Costain in 93, but that was when the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 for a lot of sports, including baseball, was playing a northern division with like some teams that you wouldn't expect to be in the conference, and then a southern division. So, and those two teams wouldn't play each other really. Those two divisions wouldn't play each other so that much. That was a very different time to win really in the first of the fully round robin, fully integrated conference era. Very impressive for Bayerlova. She was 17-2, which is all the more impressive because she's the number one singles person, so she's playing the other team's best player quite often. So, I don't know if that's always true, but you know, she only conference one she lost is a number 25 player in the entire country. So, very impressive.
Yep, that's I imagine that's a thing that doesn't happen very often. So,
yeah.
It's very cool. They've made some huge strides with that tennis program to be. And look, Pac-12, as you might imagine, very difficult tennis conference. So to be able to compete with, the schools in California and in warmer climates is pretty damn cool, man. Pretty damn cool.
And tennis has taken the same approach that we've seen in some of our other sports of just finding players anywhere they can, internationally, looking where other teams might not. And they've had a lot of success. A lot of the players that have built the tennis program up are not from the United States. I mean, honestly, tennis is pretty dominated internationally too, but it's cool to see that, kind of that tradition of WSU just finding players everywhere, and that's how we become competitive. They all can't be like Todd Schulenberger now. He's just pulling in top 10 recruits all the time. But
yep.
But I guess that's what happens when you go to the College Cup. But so again, like this, we say it all the time, but the athletics department as a whole is just as strong as it's ever been. And
yeah,
it's pretty fun. Like if you've, especially since COVID started, I've just been, I became much more of like a total like WSU athletics junkie, especially, a lot of it's streamed online now. A lot of the things are streamed online. You can actually watch any sport most of the time, especially if it's in a conference game. Just watched so much more soccer and baseball. I've even watched a little bit of tennis, although the cameras are pretty crappy for that. Definitely not the quality you get when you're watching like a professional tennis match. You're usually seeing like two different courts and trying to figure out who's who. But yeah, volleyball and been able to watch like so many more of these sports that I mostly just kind of read about before. But, with the proliferation of streaming events and everything and just looking for more things to, being so desperate to be able to watch any sport coming out of the pandemic, like it's been cool. It's been a fun time now that so many sports are doing well at WSU.
Yep. Yeah, and there's no reason to think it's gonna end. I mean, it feels like we've taken, for a while it was like, oh, this is a golden age, and I mean, I think there's a chance that it is that, but with each year that goes by, you maybe have a little more confidence that this is just, it's kind of where we're at. And, we've joined the rest of the conference and having multiple programs competitive at once. Other schools do this all the time, and this is fairly new to us.
A lot of these sports were just not good even when I was in school. They were non-competitive, really. And now just to have so many of these sports, women's basketball be so competitive and go to tournaments, the soccer team be dominant, the volleyball team is just top 4 every year in the conference. Like, it's just it's remarkable. And obviously track has always been there for WSU. So I have another shout out I got to give to Jacob Engler, who won the Pac-12 pole vaulting championship.
Hell yeah, he did.
And just very impressive. 5.11 meters on his first attempt. Just, that's so high in the air.
Yes, it is.
Terrifying.
Yes, it is.
As someone who's afraid of heights, like, just thinking about just like vaulting yourself,
sticking a stick in the ground and then flinging yourself up in the air.
Yeah. No thanks. Good job, Jacob. But yeah, so that's awesome. Just another title to add. Even if the teams, so this was this past weekend, and with his help, the track and field team as a group is going to the West Regionals of the NCAA championship. And that gives them an opportunity to move into to the national NCAA championship. I feel like I'm talking about a choir or something right now, but there's West Regionals, and which is basically kind of like you have in baseball you have the regionals and then the finals. So they so they're still going. They're in the postseason and having some success. So. Always love to see Cougs winning titles wearing the crimson and gray. And it just happens more and more these days.
Yep. It's awesome.
All right. Well, finally we did it. We recorded another episode for y'all and for us.
Woo!
Got to get those pennies. So if you, like what you hear, and you haven't already, so you can be notified when we do another episode, which I hope, I think we'll do it again soon.
I think so.
But we will. Hit subscribe on whatever app you're doing, and if your app allows you to rate the podcast, please rate it 5 stars. Leave a nice comment. You got to balance out the trolls who are mad because one time I said WSU was going to beat UCLA, and then they didn't, and someone got mad and gave us a poor review. Or the people that
what are you worth if you can't predict?
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
Avoidance of a 50-point collapse.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't foresee that, idiot. But. Yeah, if you can do that, that'd be great. Tell a friend about the pod. They like listen to pods, and they like the Cougs. Or if they like beer, just tell them there's like a little 10-minute segment in there where we talk about beer. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on the beer stuff lately. I get people messaging me if they're going somewhere. Ask me what beer should they get. I love that stuff. Go ahead and send me those questions. My DMs are open, and I almost always look at them. So if you want to DM me on Twitter, it's at the Craig Powers. If you're mean or I don't like it, I'll just ignore you. So whatever. Jeff is at Pod versus Everyone. I'm getting into TikTok. Craig W Powers on there, and Craig W Powers on Instagram, which is where I repost my TikToks.
Craig is everywhere.
I'm everywhere. Everywhere. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw that movie on Saturday in the middle of the day because I didn't have kids. I didn't have my kids. I go to a movie in the middle of the day, which I haven't done in 5 years. Got those matinee prices. Beautiful stuff. But yeah, that is it. That is all. I have to go to bed at a decent hour because I'm going to get woken up by children in the morning. And with that, I say, go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Yep. Vaccinated.
Yep. There's plenty available.